It was nearly midnight when Emma finished wiping down the last counter at Morrison's corner store. The 19-year-old college student had been working double shifts all week, trying to save enough for next semester's textbooks. Her feet ached. Exhaustion weighed heavy on her young shoulders. She glanced toward the back of the store, where 3 middle-aged bikers sat at the small cafe table, finishing their coffee. They'd been there for over an hour, their leather vests and weathered faces telling stories of miles traveled and years lived. Emma had served them earlier, noting their quiet courtesy and generous tip. "Take your time, gentlemen," she called out softly. "No rush." The tallest one, Marcus, a man in his late 50s with kind eyes beneath graying temples, nodded his thanks. Beside him sat Pete and Derek, his riding companions for nearly 3 decades. They were in no hurry. The open road could wait. Emma turned to lock the front entrance when 3 young men pushed through the door. They couldn't have been more than 25, with hard eyes that spoke of too many bad choices. The leader, wearing a stained hoodie, swaggered toward the counter. "As store's closed," Emma said, trying to keep her voice steady. "We open again at 6. We just need a few things," the leader said, his voice carrying an edge that made Emma's stomach tighten. His companions spread out, moving down the aisles with deliberate slowness. "I'm sorry, but I've already closed out the register," Emma explained, backing up slightly. "You'll have to come back tomorrow." The young man leaned across the counter, close enough that Emma could smell cigarettes and alcohol on his breath. "That's not very friendly, sweetheart. We've had a long night." Emma's hand moved toward her phone, but the leader was faster, reaching across to grab her wrist. "Where do you think you're going?" What happened next occurred so quickly that Emma barely had time to process it. Marcus appeared behind the young man like a shadow given form. His large hand closed firmly on the aggressor's shoulder. "Son," Marcus said, his voice carrying the calm authority of someone who'd seen enough trouble to recognize it instantly. "I think the young lady asked you to leave." The leader spun around, trying to pull free, but found himself looking up at 3 men who'd lived through decades the punks could only imagine. Pete and Derek had moved silently into position, blocking the exits. There was no threat in their posture, no violence in their stance. Just an unmovable presence that filled the room. "This isn't your business." "Old man," the leader spat, but his voice had lost its edge. Marcus smiled. The kind of patient smile a father might give a foolish child. "See, that's where you're wrong. When I see someone frightening a young person just trying to do her job, it becomes my business. Now, you and your friends are going to apologize to this young lady, and then you're going to walk out that door and think about the kind of man you want to be." For a long moment, silence hung in the fluorescent-lit store. Emma could hear her own heartbeat. The 2 other intruders had stopped pretending to shop and stood frozen, uncertainty replacing their earlier bravado. The leader looked at his friends, then back at the 3 bikers. Whatever he saw in their weathered faces made him reconsider his choices. These weren't men who needed to prove anything. They'd already lived their proving years and come out the other side. "Sorry," he mumbled toward Emma, not quite meeting her eyes. "Louder," Pete said quietly, "and mean it." The young man cleared his throat. "I'm sorry, miss. We'll go." Marcus released his shoulder, and the 3 troublemakers shuffled toward the door. Their tough guy swagger completely deflated. As the leader reached the exit, Marcus called out once more. "Son, I was angry and stupid once too. Made plenty of mistakes. The difference between a good life and a wasted one is learning when to walk away. Remember that." The door chimed as they left, and Emma realized she'd been holding her breath. Her legs suddenly felt weak, and she grabbed the counter for support. "You okay, honey?" Derek asked, his gruff voice surprisingly gentle. Emma nodded, then shook her head, then found herself crying. Not from fear, but from relief and gratitude and the overwhelming kindness of 3 strangers who hadn't needed to get involved but did anyway. Marcus pulled a clean handkerchief from his pocket and handed it to her. "Let's get you home safe." "Where do you live?" "Just a few blocks," Emma managed. "I usually walk." "Not tonight," Pete said firmly. "We'll follow you in our bikes. Make sure you get home safe." 20 minutes later, Emma pulled into her apartment complex driveway. The 3 motorcycles rumbled behind her, their headlights like guardian angels in the darkness. As she got out of her car, Marcus approached, removing his helmet. "Thank you," Emma said, and meant it with every fiber of her being. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been there." Marcus shook his head. "We all need somebody watching out for us sometimes." "My daughter's about your age?" "I'd hope someone would do the same for her." As the three bikers rode off into the night, Emma watched their taillights disappear and felt something shift inside her. The world could be frightening and uncertain, but it was also full of unexpected guardians. People who chose kindness when they could just as easily have chosen indifference. She thought of those three men, riding through life with their quiet strength and gentle wisdom, and made herself a promise. Someday, when she saw someone who needed help, she would remember this night. She would be someone's guardian too, because that's how light stays in the world. One kind act, one brave moment. One person who decides that someone else's safety matters. The night was quiet now, peaceful. Emma went inside, knowing she'd sleep soundly. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment telling us about a time when a stranger's kindness made a difference in your life. Your stories matter, and they might inspire someone else when they need it most.